just finished editing this Q&A, but I've been reading the comments on yesterday's video throughout the day, and there's one thing that I really want to respond to. I got a lot of flack for saying that the tracker is rolling out to different parts of the world when all of those new places are in the US. Let me just make one thing clear. This is the world, this is a part of it, and this is a different part of it. A lot of people are trying to invalidate me saying that the tracker is available in different parts of the world just because those parts are in the same country. As I said yesterday, the tracker is now available in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, and in Washington, in the Seattle area. Phoenix and Seattle are farther apart than London and Barcelona. So if the tracker was available in London and Barcelona, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The real reason I want to respond to this is one idea in particular, and that's the sentiment that I'm an ignorant American who thinks the US is the only thing that matters in the world. And let me just tell you, that is far from my perspective. A lot of people want to argue that I can't say different parts of the world because the US is one part of the world. The US, including Alaska, is almost 3 times bigger than all of Europe. So to say that the entire US is only one part of the world is really the ignorant perspective here. And before you say anything, this isn't about size. This isn't saying that the US means more because it's bigger. This is to say that I don't believe country borders matter. I don't think international borders matter. And I think that these arbitrarily drawn lines have caused way too many problems in the history of humankind. I think as we move forward as a species, maybe we need to stop looking at the world as a collection of different countries and start looking at it as our shared home. This could be the most exciting Sunday Q&A and evolution extravaganza so far, because I have something that I've been waiting a very long time to evolve. So before we do anything else, I'm going to start the egg. You see it there already, don't you? We're going to start with the filler evolutions. This will be a Rattata. It's higher CP than any Rattata I've evolved before. So hopefully I can get Eradicate with Bite and Hyper Beam, because it's actually a pretty good attacker. And because it has such low CP, you can use it as filler when you're prestiging, training against friendly gyms, and you can get a decent amount of prestige using Raticates. Quick Attack Hyper Beam. It's not Bite Hyper Beam, it's not as good as Bite Hyper Beam. Quick Attack, ironically, is actually a pretty slow, fast move. But at least I got Hyper Beam out of it. The first question I want to start with is something that's been asked a lot since the recent videos about how catch rate works. It goes back to an earlier video I did about catch rate where someone concluded from their own study that it doesn't matter if you hit inside the small circle or outside of it, just as long as the circle was getting smaller, you would have a better chance of catching that Pokemon. So I actually talked to some of the guys at GamePress who did the research that I cited in the most recent video, and they let me know that that's actually not true. According to their research, and even after they looked at that previous study that I had cited quite a while ago, they found that it does matter. You do have to hit inside the smaller circle to get the bonus. If you hit outside of the circle, you're not going to get any bonus, you're not going to get any modifier to your catch rate. So just to reiterate, as the circle shrinks, your modifier increases, and at maximum size, your modifier is 1.0, and at minimum size, it's 2.0. So depending on the size of that circle as it's shrinking, wherever you hit it, that's going to be the modifier that you get. And if you want a full explanation, if you missed the video, check it out, it's right up here. You can learn exactly how catch rate works in Pokemon Go. Here we go, another sort of filler. It's a Pidgey, and I am actually excited to evolve Pidgeys because I do want a Pidgeot with Wing Attack and Hurricane since I powered up my last one. Again, I'm trying to get one around 1100, 1200 CP to use for training in gyms. And since Pidgey and Rattata were both removed from eggs recently, it's going to be a lot harder to find Pidgeys and Rattatas with good IVs. So this might be my last chance for a while. Dang. Not even close. What influences flee rate? Is there anything we can do to reduce it? Unfortunately, no. There's nothing you can do to influence flee rate. The guys at GamePress, who have been doing a lot of really great research on Pokemon Go, concluded that flee rate is based on base flee rate alone. There's nothing you can do to influence it. Using berries doesn't change anything. Using different types of balls doesn't change anything. So every Pokemon has a base flee rate, just like they have a base catch rate. And I'll link to the full chart in the description. Typically, flee rate is higher for unevolved Pokemon. So for starters, for example, the base form, that's Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, they have a base flee rate of 10%. The second evolution, I guess the first evolution, Ivysaur, Charmeleon, and Wartortle, have a 7% flee rate, and the fully evolved starters, that's Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise, have a 5% flee rate. And that's pretty much true for most Pokemon that evolve. So as they evolve, they're actually going to have a lower chance of running away, which is a good thing because you really don't want those fully evolved Pokemon running from you when you're trying to catch them. So again, I'll link to the chart in the description, but that's it. The numbers that you see there are exactly the chance of a Pokemon running away from you. Next up, we're evolving Horsey, and this one has higher starting CP. It's a higher level than any Horsey I've evolved before, so this will turn out to be my strongest Seadra. Hopefully it gets a good moveset, either Water Gun, Hydro Pump, or the anti-Dragonite moveset, which is Dragon Breath and Ice Beam, or Blizzard. Dragon Breath Blizzard? Or Dragon Breath Dragon Pulse? Well, it has Water Gun Dragon Pulse, which is a mix of both, and doesn't really do me a whole lot of good. Good try, though. Did spawns change, or is it just me? It's not just you. Spawns did change, and they changed in a way that they've never changed before. Typically, in the past, most spawn points worked on a 15-minute timer. That means that once per hour, at the same minute of every hour, that spawn point would spawn a Pokemon that would stay there for 15 minutes. Now, it seems that after this most recent spawn point change, a lot of spawn points are spawning Pokemon for 30 minutes now. And this is a type of spawn point that did exist before, but it seems to be a lot more common. And beyond that, it seems that spawn points aren't spawning at the same time every hour now, because some people have reported seeing a spawn at, let's say, minute 33, but for the next 3 hours, at 33, there wasn't a Pokemon there. A lot of spawn points got added, a lot got removed, they've all been shuffled up, the timers are different, the timing is different, so it seems to me that Niantic really doesn't want us to know exactly where and when Pokemon are going to spawn. I think we started to understand too much how to predict where Pokemon would be, and that just kind of takes away from the spirit of the game. They want you out and exploring, but if you know exactly where something's going to be at what time, you can just go there and not have to really look around at all. Ironically though, that kind of goes against their new tracker, which tells you exactly where a Pokemon's going to be. But I definitely think they made spawn points less predictable because it kind of just takes away from the exploration aspect of the game. I'm going to be doing a little bit more investigation to these spawn point changes, so over the next couple days I'll be paying attention, I'll be seeing what people are talking about online, and I'll share all the information with you guys as soon as I figure out what's going on. Look at what's left here. Bulbasaur, Dratini, Magikarp, Oddish, Slowpoke. I'm really excited for all of those, actually. Let's do Slowpoke. I already have a perfect IV Slowbro. I have quite a few Slowbros, but this Slowpoke is 910 CP. It's going to make for a pretty big Slowbro without any Stardust invested. So let's see where it turns out. Water Gun Water Pulse, 1965, no Stardust invested. That's going to be one of my top 10 Pokemon for sure. Unfortunately, it's not a great moveset, but it is a big Slowbro to add to gyms. Which is best? Strongest moves, moves of the same type, or IVs, or a combination? This is actually something that I've answered quite a few times in the past, but it keeps getting asked, so I'm going to answer it again briefly for those of you who are new or who missed my previous explanations. So, the way it works is, IVs are an endgame thing. They're only important if you're planning on powering up that Pokemon to its maximum level. That means you're going to reach level 40, you're going to be able to power that Pokemon up all the way to level 40. That's when IVs are important, because it's going to have the highest possible CP when it's maxed out. Movesets are always important, and I always say that I want 2 moves of the same type, and the reason is I want both of those moves to be able to deal super effective damage to the same Pokemon. So let's take Victory Bell for example, because I memorized this one. Acid and Solar Beam is Victory Bell's highest damage per second moveset. That means those 2 moves are going to deal the most damage, but I would prefer Razor Leaf and Solar Beam because they're both grass type moves. Now the difference in their damage isn't that big, but Razor Leaf Solar Beam is ranked second in terms of damage per second. Now the reason I prefer that is because both of those moves are going to be super effective against the same Pokemon. Grass is super effective against rock, against ground, and against water. Poison is not super effective against any of those types. So if I had a Victory Bell with Acid and Solar Beam, which I do, if I were to use that against a ground type Pokemon, it wouldn't deal the most possible damage. If I were to use that against a water type Pokemon, it wouldn't deal the most possible damage. Same thing for rock. But with Razor Leaf and Solar Beam, both moves are super effective against those Pokemon. Both moves are going to deal an extra 25% damage. Now if you were to use that Victory Bell against a Pokemon who is neutral to both poison and grass type moves, so let's say a normal type Pokemon, in that case, Acid and Solar Beam is going to deal more damage, but in that case, I would probably choose a Pokemon with fighting type moves that are both super effective against the normal type Pokemon. So that's why I always try to choose moves of the same type, because they're both super effective against the same Pokemon, so they can both deal maximum damage. Let's do Oddish next. I did power up my Vileplume that has Acid and Petal Blizzard, and to be honest, I kind of regret it now that I'm evolving another one. It's possible that I'll get a better moveset on this one, so that might have been a waste of Stardust, but I was just getting kind of antsy. I really just wanted to spend my Stardust, and now that I'm down to under 100,000, I kind of regret it. Hopefully this comes out with something better than that. Razor Leaf Petal Blizzard. That's definitely an improvement. Again, Razor Leaf is slightly lower DPS than Acid, but 2 moves of the same type. This next question kind of goes along with the previous question. Are high CP but low IV Pokemon caught in the wild worth keeping? For example, a 2500 CP Blastoise with decent IVs. Well, if you caught a 2500 CP Blastoise in the wild, it's going to have good IVs. 25, 40 something is Blastoise's max CP. So if you catch a 2500 Blastoise, definitely keep it because it's... Well, you couldn't, actually, because the highest level you're going to see Pokemon in the wild is 30, and Blastoise isn't going to get up to 2500 CP until a lot closer to level 40. So, bad example. But if you catch a high CP Pokemon in the wild, but it has bad IVs, keep it. IVs don't matter unless you're powering that Pokemon up to max level. CP is important right now. When you're going into a gym, all that matters is CP. The Charizard that we recently caught in Santa Monica had pretty bad IVs. They were below 60%, maybe even below 50, but it has 1458 CP and 2 Fire-type moves. That's perfectly usable. I can use that Charizard to beat pretty much any Grass-type Pokemon that's going to be in a gym. I could probably beat any Exeggutor, any Venusaur, any Vileplume with that Charizard, no matter what their CP is. So again, if you want to see my full explanation of moveset versus IVs versus CP, check out the suggested video here, and that'll tell you exactly how and when everything is the most important. Really good video. Probably one of the top 5 trainer tips of all time. Okay, now we're getting into the really exciting stuff. I'm gonna do Magikarp first, before the Bulbasaur. So this Magikarp is actually 171 CP, way stronger than any Magikarp I've evolved before. It's going to be the strongest Gyarados, and I really, really hope it doesn't end up with Twister. Finally, Bite, Hydro Pump, and it's my strongest Gyarados yet. Super satisfied with that. How can I know when nests change? Is it with every update? Well, it's not actually with every update, but so far every Nest migration has preceded a game update by a few days or a week. So typically, when the game does update, Nests will have changed very recently. There's no way to really know ahead of time when Nests are going to change, but Niantic is trying to stick to a 2-week update schedule. I know it hasn't been perfectly 2 weeks apart in the past, but every couple weeks Nests are probably going to change. You can subscribe to Trainer Tips or follow me on Twitter, and you'll get the most updated news on Nest migrations. But other than that, there's not really a way to predict ahead of time when Nests are going to change. 2 evolutions left. This one is the second most exciting for me. This Bulbasaur, 780 CP, is going to make a really strong Venusaur. Unfortunately, it's not above 80%. It's pretty close. It's like high 70s. So I'm just going to evolve that. It's going to make a good Venusaur without any Stardust investment. So I'm hoping for 2 good moves on this one. That's 2 Grass-type moves. Well, Vine Whip Solar Beam is what I really want. That was kind of disappointing, but 1900 CP, I can still put that in gyms and be relatively safe. I don't know. It'll still probably be at the bottom of gyms, honestly, but 1900 CP Venusaur, nothing to complain about. Actually, I'm complaining about the moves, but it's still a Venusaur. What's an important daily quest that Pokemon Go needs to do that hasn't been announced yet? There is one that I think they really should add, in addition to the first Pokestop and the first catch of the day, and that is the first battle of the day. I think they really need to do something to encourage people to go out and battle gyms, because if you're going to get a bonus for battling your first gym of the day, and all the gyms around you are level 10, well, that's at least one small step towards taking down those stagnant level 10 gyms that everyone is seeing right now. Alright, here we go. Final evolution. This is the one I've been waiting for since the game launched. It's been 4 months now. Very early on, I saw a wild Dragonite on sightings, but that was when the servers were really unstable. There were so many people there that I just couldn't get into the game to catch it. My game was completely frozen, but here it is. 4 months later, I'm about to get my Dragonite. And this Dratini has 97% perfect IVs, so that's 1 point shy of perfect. It's 14, 15, 15, I think. And it's going to make for a very strong Dragonite once I power it up all the way. Oh, there it is. Dragonair. Alright, 1194. That's a Dragonair. This will actually probably be my highest CP Pokemon. Actually, it might be a little bit lower than my Snorlax, but let's see where it ends up. $23.94 Steel Wing Dragonclaw. It's a defensive Dragonite, but that's fine. I'll probably leave it in gyms once in a while. You know, I really don't want to contribute to that stagnation, that sameness, that homogeneity. But at $23.94, well, let's just sort by CP and see where that ended up. It is my second strongest Pokemon without any Stardust invested. So really, 2 power-ups, and that'll outclass my Snorlax. That Slowbro also made it into my top 9 there. The Venusaur's right outside of it. The Gyarados is right outside of it. So a lot of really strong evolutions today. One last question to round out this Q&A. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go, and why would you go there? Easy. Hands down, North Korea. The reason why, honestly, is because no one's really allowed to go there. I'm so curious to see what goes on. Cassie and I have watched a ton of documentaries on North Korea. I actually bought her Kim Jong-il's book about filmmaking, which was fascinating. So definitely, if I could go anywhere in the world, North Korea is where I want to go. I heard there was actually a gym or a Pokestop in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, right between South Korea and North Korea. I think it's been removed, but it would have been really cool to go there and check that out. So maybe when I start my Pokemon Go World Tour, I'll make a stop in South Korea for Farfetch'd and get as close to North Korea as I can. Maybe fly the drone over, but that's probably a really bad idea. I'm not going to do that. I might do that. That's going to be it for this Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got a ton of really strong Pokemon out of it, so I'll see you tomorrow.